18 naked cowboys in the showers of Ram Ranch, wanting to be fucked, waiting to be sucked. That is Ram Ranch, it really rocks. Willy wah! Stephanie Glentano here, and tonight we'll be talking about Going All the Way with Alex Murphy. Tell me, what was that like, going all the way?
Bryan Cranston was fucking amazing.
You don't realize you smashed the guitar on the one part of the set that isn't on camera.
And did a pretty good job. Huh?
I was gonna learn how to play the guitar, stop it.
Too bad. Now you can learn like this.
My beautiful viola. Well, here, I gotta
just hang it right here on this little hook right
I'm just gonna lynch it real quick. There we go. So,
nice little...
Going All the Way is an American anime, released 2016, was it?
I think the play was like 2015.
This is the most important election of your lifetime, and the choices couldn't be clearer.
And then they did it like a full film shot.
Yeah, what this is
around the same time.
It's a Bryan Cranston vehicle that is adapted from a play he did.
Like played and produced by him.
Well, yeah. I mean, you could definitely tell this is a showcase of Bryan Cranston's acting.
Come join the party. Your party. Hmm?
In a minute. You're goddamn right, it's my party. And I had to drag it into the light, kicking and screaming every inch of the way. 'Cause this is how new things are born. Bird and I lost 3 babies before we had Linda. And I remember the moment when they finally let me into the room to see my first live child. And there on the floor, you could still see the doctor's footprints in my wife's blood. And I thought, yeah, this is familiar. I know this. But right now we're gonna party like there's no tomorrow. 'Cause there's no feeling in the world half as good as winning. But the sun will come up, and the knives will come out. And all these smiling faces will be watching me, waiting for that one first moment of weakness. And then they will gut me like a deer.
You've seen Trumbo, you've seen Going All the Way. Which one did you like more?
Going all the way. All the way!
I feel like Trumbo might have had better cinematography. I think that was personally one of my letdowns for this movie. Was it's incredibly acted, but the score and the camera work is just so
It's mediocre.
benign. It's just there.
It's good. It's a lot better than some of the stuff we've shot, obviously.
Oh well.
But
You're gonna lose, Sam. You're gonna lose.
but it's really focused a lot of its energy on that one part of the acting.
This is true. I think a movie, I immediately compared it to Vice, a recent movie. And I think that one is probably, I like that movie as a better sum of its total parts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the fucking camera work in that movie, the directing, and and the acting too. I think the acting in Vice was on par with what we saw here from Cranston.
Definitely they relied a lot more on people or actors that looked and were able to portray those real life people than like there was a lot of prosthetics they used in Vice, which looked great.
Yeah, I think it was nominated and might have won the Oscar for special effects makeup.
Right, but it felt more. The actors felt more like they were in their own kind of skin.
And All the Way.
Yeah.
See, I would argue that maybe it's a combination of You know, Lyndon B. Johnson, I agree, had probably way less makeup than a lot of the people did Vice.
Like,
But-
Bryan Cranston's old now.
Yeah. Everyone around Bryan Cranston in this movie, I feel like I don't know if it's just Bryan Cranston has this problem, but did you notice in a lot of Bryan Cranston's recent movies, they kind of spend all the budget on Bryan Cranston and then don't pay any other actors on his level?
I mean, there's a lot of the senators, especially with like the senators that were like from the southern states, the Dixiecrats.
Mhm.
A lot of them, without showing not like seething in rage, but that kind of rage behind them.
Yeah, it was
that you hear just from their voice, and the guy just holding himself together without like screaming the N-word over and over again.
like Lyndon B. Johnson in that one. That's what I will say. Its portrayal of the other side was a lot more two-dimensional than say Black Klansman. Remember
it feels more realistic than Black Klansman. Like, this is how they actually discuss. They're not going around and screaming that word over and over again.
Yeah. What I would say is, again, bringing it back to what my point with what was that? The Upside and this movie. I noticed they've got like the A-list caliber actor that is Bryan Cranston, and then Walter and Humphrey, everyone around him is just kind of like, even his wife are just like, they're fine. Whereas like a movie like Vice, like, yes, the reason to see that movie is Christian Bale, but at the same time, I feel like Steve Carell is doing an equal level job with fucking, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I can't say that the same with this movie. I do think, what's his face, Falcon, Anthony Mackie, he did a great job because MLK is one of those people who's really easy to just fall into the
This is what I got all those ass whoopings for. I had a dream once. It was a dream that little black boys and little black girls would drink from the river of prosperity, freed from the thirst of oppression.
sort of like character, you know what I mean?
It definitely felt like a more younger Martin Luther Jr. You know, who obviously had his own vices and whatnot, and it did a good job portraying him.
Mm-hmm.
And even though he doesn't look exactly like Martin Luther King Jr., it was close enough.
Yeah.
And that the acting, the portrayal, really kind of made that character.
Now, MLK is one of the things I want to talk and what I didn't like about the movie, a part of them. But what are some other goods you want to bring up? I mean, other than Bryan Cranston.
I mean, and there's obviously been a lot of debate about how realistic this movie is with what actually happened.
Mostly the mass producer.
Yeah, mostly him, because he didn't have his liberty, whatever scandal that occurred. And I'm not very versed with the politics and what actually happened during that time, in which a lot of people will, you know, they could just say, well, they wrote it one way and it really happened this way.
My argument with a lot of movies like Green Book, the Ginsberg movie, Vice, and then now this one is, people always shout it's not historically accurate.
Right.
I would like them to point to one movie that is. What would you say is the most historically accurate movie? Because everyone always screams this isn't, but like I really don't think there is, because when you make a movie, you're not the one who was there, you know what I mean? You're just piecing as many pieces as you can find together. And also, when you're writing something, it's from something you're interested in. So if you're more focused on his civil rights movement and not so much the Vietnam War, you're not going to focus that much on that part.
It's an issue of separation that people can't seem to do. They can't separate the two things. Like, you know, you can have an actor who in real life is a shitty person, but also can act amazingly.
Yeah.
and there's this separation that exists that people are having a tough time with for some reason. The same thing with these historical movies, which what makes them so hard to come off as historically accurate, because you're pretty much always going to have the person going, that's not what really happened, it happened like this.
Yeah.
And there's people like that who are going to completely distance themselves from that movie.
Yeah.
Because they feel like it's a horrible portrayal. And there's some people who are going to act as if that's what actually happened, that's the history.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a movie. You should know that things, especially with movies, with the person who's still alive.
Yeah, that's something I've been hearing about a lot lately, because there are two types, and I want you to answer me this question, like personally, because you have two types of historical movies. One where the person's still alive and they disavow everything that happened to it. This happened with the
like Dick Cheney with Vice.
I don't think he publicly disavowed it. He definitely
didn't want to see it. He didn't want anything to do with it.
My point is Green Book. The family of the piano player said that the entire movie is bullshit. While other movies like the Ginsberg movie was definitely endorsed by that person. Now, do you want one where the person is 100% against it, 100% for it?
I feel like it's easier if the person is for the movie. Because obviously they're going to have whatever influence to, kind of tuck everything under the rug.
Like Bohemian Rhapsody?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, none of the other band members had any personal problems whatsoever.
Yeah, we won't get into that. But, with Vice, with Dick Cheney not really wanting anything to do with it, it leads me to believe that more of it, and I understand that there's going to be a lot of chunks that are made different from what actually happened to make it work better narratively, to make it a better movie. Because if you just made a movie that's literally just everything that happened, it'd be kind of boring.
Oh, yeah. It's,
like, if you didn't cut out all the boring shit, like cutting out every bathroom scene.
That happened a lot with the movie recently, Best of Enemies, where a lot of that movie could be cut out of repetition, but it wasn't. Personally, I don't really want a movie that's 100% disavowed from the family, and I don't want one that's completely endorsed by the person either, because it's just like...
But I would lean more towards someone who... a movie that the person doesn't want most of it being out there. Because that's more...
you want more Vice.
That's more truthful.
The more... more Vice, less Bohemian, right?
With current technology, we'll most likely never have a truly realistic historical movie.
Yeah.
Until we can endgame time travel our ways back in history.
Well, that's my point with the mass producer. He had a big problem with this movie because it wasn't historically accurate, and it's just like...
Was he there?
Yeah.
Does he know?
Yeah.
And, I mean...
I'm not saying it's accurate.
We pretty much all learned from the same history books.
Yeah, like Lincoln's a good example. Like, it's a great movie. I don't know if it's fucking historic, like 100%.
There's almost no way to really know if Lincoln really acted like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's accounts of him having a higher pitched voice, but that's about it.
We have one audio recording of him and his writings.
Yeah.
As well as what other people wrote about him.
Yeah, and I think because they didn't have, like, this is what exactly happened, they went to great detail to build the atmosphere, I mean?
I separate what really happened, which I don't really know, with Abraham Lincoln and the movie.
Yeah.
Because I think the movie by itself, same thing with, like, Green Book, even if it is based on a real, and that's what I say, it's based.
Yeah.
Again, if you make it like the real life, it's going to be fucking boring. But Green Book itself, the movie separated from everything else, is an amazing movie.
Widdly wah!